Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. We want to feel safe. Teens, other residents of war-torn Kingston Central, express wish for expanded Zozo. Worried that her boys could be sucked into the sight of violence plaguing the area, a Kingston Central mother has expressed a willingness to share her Wi-Fi password with cops to accommodate a security post at her Sutton Street gate. The mother has sent away her two sons, one in his early 20s and the other a teen, from the violence-plagued era, noting that by mere association, they could fall victim to the bloody feud that claimed more than 70 lives last year. "Me wouldn't mind them security force up here so," the woman who lives in the outskirts of a zone of special operation encompassing Parade Gardens said, wishing it had also included Rose Gardens, also known as spoilers. "One of the time, them come up on my gate and me say, I wonder if them police here want me Wi-Fi password fi no move. Me willing to give it up so them move from that spot," she reported. Had it not been for the resumption of face-to-face classes, her sons would have stayed away from the area, the concerned mother said. "Me afraid for them. One at the time, when it get hot, me did have to send them away. But through one of them have to go to school, him come back," she related. "Everybody know what I want still, but me try to keep them, cause if you no go certain part or talk to certain people, you're in a problem." She noted that the atmosphere has been more calm since the Zozo was declared nearby on Sunday, and she can now freely sit at her gate to enjoy the peace. Over on Wellman Street, close to her, 10-year-old Jezreel Tyrrell was killed on December 30th, a group of children aged 13 to 14, that they were wishing for an end of the violence. While they were happy that Zozo was declared nearby, they too wish it had been expanded to include a greater portion of their community. "We want to feel safe. Nobody don't know who to trust. Any car that drive through, you just drop out your guard," one of the teens said. An elderly man also told reporters that he would love to have seen the lasting peace in the area, noting that he was uneasy about the number of strange persons moving into the area in recent times. "I live here for 40 years and a pure strange-faced man me see about the place. I just move and go do what I must do and go back inside. Too much strange face up here," the senior citizen stated. It was a similar cry for Beeson Street and Rum Lane, as residents also wished that they had been placed within the boundaries of the security measures. "We want it everywhere. I live here Rum Lane, from Haile Selassie, come to Jamaica 1966, all the war and killing. Nothing like that never happened on Rum Lane until last year them kill a guy, a stranger, and come back again Christmas Day and kill a next guy. Them something there never used to happen up here," the woman said. The bloodletting has caused her sleepless nights. "Anywhere them want to drop the Zozo, them drop it, cause every striking way is the same thing. Them boy are going too bad now. And so them just a kill, kill, kill. Then can't stop. Why? Nobody don't know," she lamented. James Street residents said that they would have frequently seen men walking through the area with high-powered weapons. "Me feel safer with the Zozo, but put it up here. You can hardly turn out a street. You have to live and fret," one resident summed it up. Imani Duncan Price, the People's National Party standard bearer in Kingston Central, has long advocated for a Zozo in the area to tackle the high level of violence. "Excellent start with Zozo in Parade Gardens, PMP at Andrew Holness JM and team. I wish this last year, advocating for Zozo due to the continued horrified violence. Will advocate for Zozo to expand to Rose Garden, Spoiler Midtown, 5 or 9 murders Christmas week, #Central Kingston," she tweeted on Sunday. Fueled by a feud between two main gangs in the division since last year, Kingston Central recorded 79 murders in 2021, a 55% increase when compared to 2020, and the second highest increase in murders across all police divisions. Additionally, Parade Gardens accounted for 16 of those deadly attacks, is currently ranked among the top 10 communities with the highest level of homicides across Jamaica. Fraud alarm. Education Ministry under fire as report cites millions at risk in accountability breakdown. Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis has issued a STEM warning to the Ministry of Education, declaring that it runs the risk of falling victim to fraud, unauthorized withdrawals, and significant bank errors because of its failure to prepare its bank reconciliation statements in a timely manner. the Auditor General contended that 7 years of outstanding appropriation accounts reveal a systematic breakdown in accountability, heightening the risk of breaches of the Financial Administration and Audit Act and regulations governing the management and use of the budgetary resources. She pointed out that this risk has materialized into the audit of the appropriation accounts for 2019 to 2020. We found evidence of several instances in which the Ministry of Education breached the Financial Administration Audit Act instructions, the report said. In recent times, the Education Ministry has been dogged by controversies, starting with the Caribbean Maritime University scandal, the Nutrition Product Limited connected party fiasco, and the unaccounted for $124 million paid to Jamaican Committee on Territorial Education. In an alarming revelation, the Auditor General divulged that the Ministry has failed to present its appropriations account for the 7-year period 2012 to 2013 and 2018 to 2019. The approved budgetary allocations from the Ministry over the period amounted to $642.6 billion. The appropriation accounts for 2019 to 2020, however, have been completed. In her 2021 annual report that was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, Manuel Ellis said an audit of the accounting records and financial transactions of the Education Ministry uncovered a regulatory breach in the preparation of the appropriation accounts. The Ministry's failure to submit the appropriation accounts prevents the independent assessment by the Auditor General. She argued that Parliament, through the Auditor General's report on the appropriation accounts of the Ministry, has been denied the opportunity to access the Ministry's stewardship over the use of public resources. The Auditor General explained that bank reconciliation is one of the most important components of an effective system of internal control and is necessary in preventing and detecting fraud. It was reported that the Education Ministry did not reconcile the bank accounts for teachers' salary, general salary, and deposit accounts over the period 2012 to 2013 and 2020 to 2021. Manuel Ellis divulged that the absence of monthly reconciliation would have also exposed the Ministry to irregularities, as demonstrated by the $30 million fraud that occurred on teachers' salary bank accounts between June 2017 and August 2018. Despite requests, the Auditor General said the Education Ministry has not provided a full list of the bank accounts it maintained for the financial year 2019 to 2020. The Ministry submitted a list of only 6 bank accounts and presented the related bank reconciliation statement. Of note, these bank reconciliation statements were prepared, reviewed, and signed off on the same day, July 13, 2021, during the period of the audit, the Auditor General highlighted. FLA under the gun. Financial Secretary Darlene Morrison has admitted that the Minister of Finance and the Public Service has become aware of employment contracts that are in breach of the Ministry's policy and guidelines, but noted that there are no prescribed sanctions for the violations. Her remarks come against the background of a concern highlighted by Auditor General Pamela Manuel Ellis in her 2021 annual report in relation to the termination clause of the contract of Shane Darlene, Chief Executive Officer of the Firearm Licensing Authority FLA. According to Manuel Ellis, the termination clause in Shane's contract is not in keeping with the fixed-term contract officers' policy guidelines issued by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. She said that the FLA is exposed to the risk of incurring additional termination costs if the CEO's contract is ended prematurely. The termination clause in the CEO's 5-year contract, dated April 29, 2020, states that either party may terminate this agreement by giving to the other 2 months' notice in writing. Termination by the Firearm Licensing Authority before completion of the contract period shall be accompanied by payment of gross salary for the remaining period of the contract, but not exceeding 2.5 years gross salary plus prorated gratuity, the report stated. The Auditor General argues that the provision represents a material deviation from Section 8I of the Fixed-Term Contract Officers Policy Guidelines and requires the Finance Minister's approval. However, she said that the FLA did not obtain the requisite approval from the Finance Ministry. Chairman of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee (PAAC) Michael Phillips sought guidance from the Finance Secretary in relation to contracts that were not in line with the Minister's guideline. In recent times, we have been issuing directives in terms of compliance, in terms of people needing to address any breaches, but there are no sanctions on the books, so we are limited in terms of what we can do. From the Ministry of Finance, Morrison told members of the PAAC, who examined the second supplementary estimates of expenditure now before the House. Philip described as troubling the admission from the Financial Secretary that the Finance Minister could not sanction officials at MDAs that violate employment contract guidelines and rules. While acknowledging that a contract was a legal document, Phillips indicated that failing to correct a clause that contravened the ministry's own policy would be a dereliction of duty of the people and taxpayers of the country. Morrison said that if the ministry identified an overpayment in an employment contract, the excess sum would be recovered. The contract may not be in line with the guidelines, but depending on the situation, we will determine whether or not we can recover, she added. The Financial Secretary argued that the requirement was that the contract would be submitted to the Ministry of Finance for approval. However, she told lawmakers that in some instances, they were not presented to the ministry. Inspection overhauled at KSAMC after oversight rebuke. Kingston Mayor Delroy Williams has announced a suite of administrative changes to the approval process for building applications amid public backlash and Chistin court judgment about negligence or worse in its inspection oversight. Among the reforms would be mandatory inspections every 3 months for every development and evaluations at various stages of completion. Scrutiny of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation became more intense last month when the Local Government Services Commission interdicted Sean Martin, a field inspector who is also the second in command of planning, and Assistant Building Surveyor Calvert Sutherland. Speaking at the first meeting of the KSAMC on Tuesday, Williams told caucus members that the recommendation of the administrative changes would be put forward for discussion at the next Planning and Building Committee meeting. This is not the first that the Building Committee will be put under scrutiny, but it will be the last time this happens without tangible action being taken, Williams stated. The chief engineer has been mandated to submit monthly a detailed list and progress update of all building works across the municipality. The changes will include a notice of the intent to build that must be evidenced on all applications that come before the Planning and Building Committee. Applications without a notice showing intent to build will not appear before the committee. A list of all construction works across the municipality to be submitted by the Chief Engineering Officer to the CEO of the KSAMC on the last working day of each month. The list will also include illegal construction. A specific minimum number of inspections to take place on all approved building applications. The City Engineers Department must sign off on the completion of each stage of construction before the beginning of the next iteration. No single building officer will handle an application from start to finish. At least 3 to 4 building officers will process an application. A complaints log and tracking system will be established. The mayor said that he has also written to Prime Minister Andrew Holness requesting a comprehensive interrogation of the entire approval process. He has also recommended a complete overhaul of the Planning and Building Department. An internal audit of the approval process has also been ordered. The announced reform triggered a resignation of the People's National Party minority cases for the Building and Planning Committee, with members criticizing the lack of integrity, transparency, and efficiency with which the current administration is operating. We believe that our proposal would have greatly assisted in the prevention, the recurrence of some of these serious issues, Councillor Andrew Swaby said in a media statement on Tuesday. Swaby said that a resolution he piloted proposing solution to systematic weaknesses was not tabled, sparking the resignations. Corruption allegations were leveled against the KSAMC after it admitted that an administrative error led to the approval of strata plans for a 14-apartment unit at the Birdsucker housing development, although it had only been granted permits for 12. Meanwhile, Williams told the KSAMC processes an average of 200 applications monthly, adding that the corporations throughout has been within the prescribed 90 days turnover period. The pace of processing has not been slowed by the pandemic, the mayor said. We are committed to the 90-day turnaround because it is important in terms of the sector. The last figure we have, we are still doing more than 90% of the applications that come before us, said Williams. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.